Today we're going to tackle a subject which has intimidated many HL7 developers for years and years, and that's how to extract binary documents, PDFs, JPEGs, etc. from HL7 messages. Now, a small disclaimer before we get started. You do not have to be an expert in HL7, and you do not have to be a Microsoft system engineer level C# programmer to do this. However, if you don't have at least a basic understanding of what HL7 messages are, and at least a very novice understanding of C#, this video might be a bit dry for you. Now, all of that being said, let's get started. We're going to start our journey today on our website, www.transworldscribe.com. Here, when we bring it up, we're going to go to the Help, and we're going to open the online help for the script engine. Everything that we need just about for this entire video, we can get from right here on this page. If you go to downloads, we can download the script engine. We can also download the latest version of our CORE HL7 viewer, which is free. If we scroll down, we can also download some example scripts and the Core Script Sandbox DLL if we want to use Visual Studio, which we will later. If you download the script examples zip file and extract it, as I have done, we're in here, and we're going to be using this HL7 message as our test message. Anytime you do an inbound HL7 interface, you have to have some example messages to look at to create your interface so you know that it will work. And we've got a checkpoint here. You can look at our other videos on how to use checkpoints and how to import them into your script. So first we're going to open this. I'm using our Core HL7 viewer. We have two messages here in our viewer that are ORU messages. Those and these have embedded documents in them. This has one here. This is the document. If we go to the next message, this message has several. It has three. Two PDF documents and one JPEG. We're going to write a script that will import these. To do this, we're going to go to our script library and our Core HL7 viewer. Now, I have a lot of Core HL7 scripts, but don't let that intimidate you. If you don't have any, it's okay. We're going to do this. We're going to go to the File menu, import a script checkpoint, and we're going to go to our folder that we extracted our examples. And for this, we're going to be using this PDF extractor checkpoint. I just open it. It imports the script, and there it is. And now I'm ready to play with it. To look at this script, what we're going to do is use Visual Studio. I'm using Visual Studio 2022, the Community Edition. What I've done here is I've created a new console application. You can look at some of our other videos on how to use Visual Studio for more, but it's just a blank .NET Framework console application. I've added a reference to my Core HL7 Script Sandbox DLL that we mentioned earlier. You can download it from the help. And once I've got my shell here, I can go back to my script library and start to pull in the script. We'll go to here, we'll go to the script code. The first thing we want to do is get the using area. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. Next, we're going to come back and we need to get the rest of the code. And for this, we're just going to go all the way to the bottom. And we're going to copy this. And we're going to paste it right here inside of the program class. We're going to do that. We're going to get an error. You'll always see this error when you post these in. And that's from this return new script. We just commented out. And here is our script in Visual Studio. Over in my viewer, I'm going to close this so that we can look at the HL7 messages while we're looking at the code. So let's start looking at this script code. The first thing we'll see here is inside the program there's a main which does nothing. It doesn't matter if you have this in here or not, it does not get executed. Next, we're declaring a couple of public static variables. One is a CORE HL7 script called globals. One is a CHS message. That's an HL7 message object that you'll find within the scripts. And I named that my message. Now, globals, you'll see we use it all over the place. This execute method, which is your main method, passes in a script object, parent, and the first line of code, the first thing that we do is set globals equal parent. And that way we can reference globals from everywhere in our script. Then move down, we'll see we call this globals.trace. This will echo out to a runtime window if we're running it locally. We'll see that in a little bit. And then the next part is we start our error checking. Globals.initial HL7 message. First thing we do is check, is this string variable there? What this will be, if you're running a script that requires an HL7 message feed, in other words, it requires the script hosting application to pass it HL7 messages, this will be there. It will be the HL7 message in string form. In our example, when we run this script, this will be the initial HL7 message for the first pass. It will be message 1. It will be this string. If it's not there, we say there's no action required. We mark it as completed and return. Next, we start checking some other stuff. You'll notice as we run through this, about 90% of the script is just error checking. Do we have the values that we need to actually extract the PDFs and write them out to a folder? First thing we need is the output folder. If it's not there, and this is just a call, it's like directory.exists, but it has some other error checking in it. So if the output folder's not there, we say we can't do anything else. We set completed to false because the output folder's not there, but it might come back later. If we were running in a Windows service and the output folder was a network share, for instance, we don't want the script engine to delete the message. We want to back out and say try again later. So after we say we've got an output folder, then we actually set this my message, which is our CHS message object, and we tell it to create the initial message. And that means use the initial message string that we saw earlier and use it to create a message object. If that doesn't work, we're going to start calling some other things. One of them is to move the message to error. What that means is if we've set the error folder, it's actually going to save a copy of the message off to the error folder and then mark it as completed as true, because there's nothing else that we can do with this message. We check to see if it's not an ORU message. Move it to error, completed as true. We get out the PID segment. This is a new object called a CHS segment. And we're going to say get the PID segment out. That would be this segment right here. If there is no PID segment, we just set an exception, move it to error, completed true. Next, we're going to get out some variables. Once we've got our PID segment, we're going to get some fields. We're going to get the field value from field 3, component 1 as patient ID, and the last name from field 5, component 1. How does this work? Over here, PID segment, this is field 3, component 1. The patient's last name is in here, field 5, component 1. So it'll be 12174, etc., and then test. Say we need these values, so we're going to make sure that they show up. If we got no value here or there, we're going to say we have to have both of these, move it to error, completed as true. Next thing, we're going to get a list of segments that says give me all of the OBX segments in the message. These right here. So for this first message, it's going to return 3 segments. But we say if there's none, that means there's no OBX segments. We can't do anything. Move it to error and complete it. Now we can start to work. We have all of the OBX segments. Let's get the embedded documents. I declare an int here just so that we can count, keep a count of which ones we found. And we're going to do a for each. We're going to get a CHS segment seg object. And we're going to do a get field value of field 2 component 1. Let's look at that. Field 2 component 1. So it's NM, then NM, and then ED. ED stands for embedded data. So, first thing we do, if it's ED, because that's the only ones we care about, we're going to get field 5 out. Field 5 in this is this field right here. It's going to have all of the data in it. We're going to get the document name out. Field 5 component 1. In that case, in this instance, field 5 component 1 is empty. But if I look at my others, you can see that it has, diagnostic report, additional findings. So there actually is a value here. So we're getting this out. If we're going to say if it's empty, we're going to actually keep it anyway and just call it report. Next thing we're going to do is to get the component value of the second component here. In that case, let's go back to message 1. That's this, PDF. Now this is, we have to have this. The doc type has to be a valid extension. That tells us what kind of file we're actually creating. So as long as that's not empty, we continue. First thing we're going to do, next we're going to get out well, I forgot to mention up here, we got out component 4, which is right here. Okay, component 4, and it has to be base 64. We convert it to uppercase. If it's not base 64, we're not going to look at it. So we're going to get out our base 64 value, which will be component 5 in our example messages. That's this big long value. It's just a base 64 encoded binary document. So we're going to get that out, and we're going to decode it, calling globals.utilities.decode base 64. These are shortcut functions. If you are used to working with C# code, you'll know how to decode a base 64 string. So we're going to pass that in, and then we're going to convert that into a byte array. And as long as we got a decoded value, we will have a byte array. Now we're ready to build our output file. And to do that, we have to give it a name. So we're going to go, the file name is the output folder, which will always have a backslash, plus doc name, which will either be report if it's missing, or diagnostic report, additional findings, x-ray scan, etc. And then the patient ID that we got from PID 3.1. And then the patient's last name. And then we're going to this new message control ID. That's a 20 character. Basically, it's a date timestamp plus a rolling number. And it's just to give us a unique value. And then finally, plus dot. And then our doc type, which will be PDF or PDF, or JPEG. And then we call file.write all bytes to write our byte array out to that file and increment our docs found. So at this point we found 1. After we get through that list, we're saying if the documents found is 0, then we didn't find anything, so we're going to set an exception. There were no valid documents, move it to error, completed is true, and return. Otherwise, we're just saying completed is true and return, this time with no exception. And that should do it. Now, one thing you'll notice as we walk through this code is we didn't change anything. Everything seems like it's going to work. Let's make a change to the code, and I think I see what I want to do here. After we write the file out, let's do a globals.tracelog. This will do a trace and a log entry, and we'll make it message plus my message dot message control ID plus exporting file, and then we'll plus fname, and that will do it. So now we've made a change to our code. We need to get it back over into our library, so we're going to just do a Control A and a Control C. We'll come back to our viewer, go back into our code editor, get our PDF extractor, say we want to edit this, and here we'll just paste it all in, and we need to take out the namespace. This is in our video about using Visual Studio. Uncomment, return new script, and we need to take out at the top the namespace and the program. That should compile just fine, and we save it. That's saved. That's our library is saved. Now we're back to our messages. Let's run it. So I'm going to choose my PDF extractor and say run the script. It compiled it. It took 15 milliseconds to run both messages. If we go to open up our output folder, which we set in our script library, and say open the folder, and there are our messages. This is the one that we didn't have the document name, so we defaulted to report. And then you see additional findings, diagnostic report, the x-ray scan. This is somebody that has SpongeBob in their throat. And that's how easy that was to create, edit a script that extracts embedded documents. Now we just put it in the script engine. Now I've already set this up in my CORE HL7 script engine. I have this PDF extractor script engine profile. I've got it set up to all these files and folders. I've set an inbox where messages need to show up, and it's ready to run. But if we remember, I actually changed this script. I added that extra line. So what I need to do is update my script engine. So to do this, I'm now going to export the script checkpoint to export the script to a checkpoint file. I'll put it someplace where I can find it. I'll go over to script examples. Remember, we started with this, and I'm going to give it a different name and call it new PDF extractor. And I save that, and that's done. Now if I come to my script engine and edit this, wait, actually I need to go into here, go into viewer, edit my script library here, and import a script checkpoint. And where did I put it? Over in script examples. It is the new PDF extractor. It tells me it's already got a version. Do I want to import it as a new script? I'm going to say no. I want to overwrite the existing script. Very, very good. That saves that as version 1.0.3. Now I can edit my script engine profile, go to the CORE HL7 script checkpoint, and choose a checkpoint. What do I want? I want PDF extractor version 1.0.3. I select that, click OK, and this is now ready to run. All right, so let's do an end-to-end test. First thing we're going to do is my HL7 PDF extractor I have running in a private service. It is right here, so I'm going to go start the Windows service. And as of right now, my PDF extractor is running, waiting for messages to show up. What we're going to do is we're going to open up this outbox in File Explorer. It is currently empty. To see it work, we're going to use our CORE HL7 listener, which I have here running at port 22001. Any HL7 messages it receives is going to go into this folder, which is our data folder here, and that's running. It's just waiting for messages to come in. And to send the messages, we're going to use our UltraPort ad hoc sender. I'm sending to port 22001. I have my PDF extractor examples with 2 messages loaded. It is ready to go. If everything is working, we should be able to start this. We should be able to send our 2 messages. They have been sent, and if everything's working correctly, they should show up here in this PDF extractor outbox. And there they are. And that's as easy as it gets. If I can go to my logs, I'll see there's my log file. And you can see there's what we put in, that extra line, the exporting file, etc., etc. And that's our video for today. Consider giving us a like and subscribe. I know this was a long video, but I hope it was helpful to you. Try out our CORE HL7 script engine. You won't be sorry. It's very, very cool.